It's 2:34 p.m. on a Friday afternoon, and I'm standing in my parents' living room, the same living room where they told me I was a disappointment for the last time. But today, I'm not the one shaking. My mother's hand trembles as she holds the Forbes magazine with my face on the cover. 30 under 30, tech visionary revolutionizes AI. The worst part wasn't that they kicked me out 3 years ago. It was that they're about to realize they bet on the wrong daughter. Let me take you back to where this really started. I'm Sarah Chen, youngest of 3 daughters in a traditional Chinese-American family in San Francisco. My childhood smelled like my grandmother's jasmine tea and sounded like constant comparisons. Why can't you be more like Jessica? Look at how perfect Michelle is. Jessica, Harvard Med, currently a surgeon at Johns Hopkins. Michelle, Yale Law, partner track at a Manhattan firm by 29. Both married to appropriate Chinese men. Both with the right careers, the right apartments, the right lives. And then there was me, the creative one, which in my family was code for the failure. I was 24, working at a small tech startup in San Francisco, living in a studio apartment in the Tenderloin that cost $2,100 a month. I could hear my neighbor's television through the walls every night. I was making $68,000 a year as a junior product designer. Good money to most people, pennies to my family. But I had this idea, this vision for AI-powered design software that could revolutionize how people create. I'd been coding it in secret for 18 months, working until 3 a.m. most nights, surviving on instant ramen and determination. Chinese New Year, 2022. My grandmother's house in Pacific Heights. The smell of dumplings filled every room, and so did judgment. I arrived at 6 p.m., parking my beat-up 2010 Honda Civic behind Jessica's Tesla and Michelle's Mercedes. Already losing before I walked in the door. Dinner was a performance. My aunts praised Jessica's latest surgery. She'd saved a child's life. They celebrated Michelle's case. She'd won $4.2 million for her client. Then they turned to me. "Sarah, still at that computer thing?" Aunt Linda asked, her voice dripping with pity. "Yes, I'm actually working on—" "When will you get a real job?" my mother interrupted, not even looking up from her plate. "Your sisters were accomplished by your age." I felt my throat tighten. "I am accomplished. I'm building something." "Building what?" My father's voice cut through the room like ice. "Air? Dreams? Your grandmother didn't immigrate here for you to play with computers." The table went silent. I made my decision right there, between the dumplings and the disappointment. I was going to launch my software, not when it was perfect, not when I had funding, now, within 30 days. "Actually," I said, my voice steadier than I felt, "I'm launching my own company next month. I've developed AI software that—" My mother laughed. Actually laughed. "With what money? What experience? Sarah, stop embarrassing yourself." Jessica leaned forward, her voice dripping with false concern. "Maybe you should consider going back to school, get an MBA, something credible. Or find a nice man to settle down with," Aunt Linda added, "before you're too old." I was 24. I left that dinner at 8:47 p.m. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, hands gripping the steering wheel, and made 3 decisions. 1. I would launch in 30 days. 2. I would not ask them for help, money, or approval. 3. I would show them exactly what they'd underestimated. My best friend Maya found me still sitting in that car at 9:30 p.m. She knocked on my window, slid into the passenger seat and said, "I heard what happened. Your cousin posted about it on WeChat." Of course she did. "Maya, I have $8,000 in savings, no investors, and a family that thinks I'm a joke. How am I supposed to? You're going to do it anyway, she said. Not a question, a fact. Because I've seen what you built, Sarah. It's brilliant. And I'm going to help you. Maya became my first employee. Well, unpaid co-founder. She believed in me when my own blood couldn't. We worked 18-hour days for the next month. My studio apartment became our office. The walls were covered in sticky notes, timelines, code snippets, marketing strategies. We survived on $3 coffee and pure spite. Launch day was February 28, 2022 at 9 a.m. We had 47 beta users signed up, not thousands, 47. My family group chat was silent. The first week, we got 200 users. The second week, 1,000. By week 3, a design blog with 500,000 followers featured us. Design AI, the tool that might change everything. By week 4, we had 15,000 users and caught the attention of a venture capital firm in Palo Alto. The meeting was on March 29, 2022, at 2 p.m. in a conference room on the 14th floor with a view of the bay. 3 partners sat across from Maya and me. 2 men, 1 woman, all in their 40s, all studying us like we were interesting specimens. Tell us about your family support, one partner asked. Standard question. They wanted to know about our safety net. I don't have family support, I said. No point lying. They don't believe in what I'm building. The woman's partner leaned forward. Why not? I could have said anything, made excuses, protected them. Because I'm not a doctor or lawyer. Because I'm not married. Because in their view, I'm the daughter who failed. Silence. Then she smiled. Good. That means you're hungry. We like to be hungry. She slid a term sheet across the table. $2 million seed funding, 15% equity. My hands shook as I read it. Maya grabbed my arm under the table. But here's what they don't tell you about success. It doesn't fix everything. It just reveals who people really are. I signed the term sheet on April 5, 2022. The money hit our account 3 weeks later. We hired our first employee on May 1st, then 3 more, then 10. By August, we had 100,000 users and $500,000 in revenue. My family still hadn't called, but the tech blogs had. TechCrunch featured us. Wired called me a designer turned AI pioneer. Y Combinator invited me to speak. In September, I got an email from a Forbes contributor. We're considering you for our 30 under 30 list. Can we schedule an interview? I sat in my new office. We'd moved out of my apartment into a real space in Soma and stared at that email for 10 minutes. Then I called my mother. First time in 7 months. Hi, Mom. Sarah, are you calling because you need money? My stomach dropped. No, Because your father and I discussed it, and we think if you're struggling, you should move home. Get a job at Jessica's hospital, maybe administration. I took a breath. Mom, I'm calling to tell you I'm going to be in Forbes magazine. They're featuring my company. Silence. Long enough that I checked if the call dropped. That's nice, Sarah. Her voice was flat, unimpressed. Your sister Michelle is being considered for junior partner. Mom, do you understand what I have to go. We're having dinner at Jessica's new house. She just bought it. 4 bedrooms. Very impressive. Click. I sat in my office, phone still pressed to my ear, and felt something shift inside me. Not heartbreak. That had happened at Chinese New Year. This was different. This was freedom. The Forbes interview happened on October 12, 2022, at 10 a.m. in a coffee shop in Hayes Valley. The journalist was a woman in her 30s named Rebecca, who ordered an oat milk latte and asked me questions for 2 hours. "Tell me about your family," she said. I'd practiced my answer, something diplomatic, professional. But instead, I told her the truth, all of it. The comparisons, the dismissals, the way they'd laughed at my dreams, the Chinese New Year dinner, the phone call about Forbes. "Why are you telling me this?" Rebecca asked, her recorder still running. "Because there are thousands of daughters like me, the ones who don't fit the mold, the ones told they're not enough because they chose different paths. And maybe if they see that I survived it, that I thrived despite it, they'll know they can too." The article came out on November 15th, 2022 at 6 a.m. PST. The headline: Sarah Chen, 25, how she built a $10 million AI company after her family called her a failure. It went viral in 6 hours. My phone exploded. Interview requests, speaking invitations, investor inquiries, and messages. Hundreds of messages from people who'd been the disappointment in their families, who'd been told their dreams weren't good enough, who'd been compared to golden siblings and found wanting. "You gave me hope," one woman wrote. "My parents disowned me for becoming an artist. Thank you for showing me I'm not alone." But my family? Still silent. Until November 17th, 2022, at 3:42 p.m., my phone rang. Michelle. "Sarah, what the hell did you do?" I'd been in a meeting with potential partners from Japan. I stepped outside our office. "What do you mean?" "The Forbes article. Everyone's talking about it. Mum and Dad are humiliated. You made us look like monsters." I told the truth. "You told your version. You made yourself the victim. Do you know what people are saying about our family?" I felt that old familiar guilt trying to creep in. The one that said I should apologize, make it right, protect the family honor. But I didn't. "Michelle, I spent my entire life being told I wasn't enough, that I was disappointed. The embarrassment. And you know what? I proved you all wrong. So if people are talking, maybe it's because they recognize themselves in my story." "You're being selfish," she hissed. "No," I said, and my voice was calm. "I'm being honest. There's a difference." She hung up. Thanksgiving 2022. I didn't go home. First time ever. Instead, Maya and I hosted dinner for our team at the office. 12 people, all of whom had believed in this company when it was just an idea. We ordered Chinese food, dumplings, fried rice, the works, and I gave a toast. "To the misfits," I said. "To everyone who was told they weren't good enough. We're building something beautiful here, and we're doing it our way." December came. Our company hit 250,000 users. Revenue crossed $2 million. We closed a Series A round for $15 million. And on December 20th, 2022, at 11 a.m., my mother called. "Sarah?" "Hi, Mom. Your father and I would like to invite you to Christmas dinner." I waited. "Jessica and Michelle will be there. We thought it would be nice to have the whole family together." "Why now?" I asked. A pause. "Because you're our daughter." "I've always been your daughter. That didn't matter when I was disappointed." "Sarah, please. We made mistakes, but we're still family." And here's the thing about transformation. It's not about revenge. It's not about making them hurt the way they hurt you. It's about becoming so fully yourself that their opinion stops mattering. Which brings me back to that living room. 2:34 p.m., Forbes magazine in my mother's trembling hand. I'd driven to their house unannounced. My new car, a Tesla Model S, I'll admit to the petty pleasure, parked in their driveway. My mother, father, Jessica and Michelle all stood there, staring at me. "Hi," I said. My father spoke first. Sarah, we saw the Forbes cover. I know. We wanted to say... He trailed off. You wanted to say what? I kept my voice even. Are you proud that you were wrong, or that now that I'm successful, I'm finally worthy of your attention? Jessica stepped forward. Sarah, that's not fair. Isn't it? I turned to her. Jessica, you called me an embarrassment to my face. You told me to give up and get an MBA. You, all of you, made me feel like I was nothing. My mother's eyes filled with tears. We were trying to protect you. The world is hard for people who don't follow traditional paths. So you made it harder? I shook my head. You were supposed to be my safety net. Instead, you pushed me off the cliff and then criticized how I flew. Silence, the kind that settles into your bones. Then Michelle spoke and her voice was small. We were jealous. I stared at her. What? We were jealous, she repeated. You were brave enough to chase what you wanted. Jessica and we did what we were told. Med school, law school, the right marriages, the right careers. We never asked ourselves if it was what we wanted. My father sat down heavily on the couch. We thought we were helping. We thought traditional success meant safety, stability. But all we did, my mother whispered, was lose you. I stood there, in that living room, and felt 3 years of anger, hurt, and triumph collide. I didn't come here for an apology, I said finally. I came to show you who I became without your support, to prove to myself that I didn't need your approval to matter. And? My father's voice cracked. And I realize now that I don't need this moment either. I don't need you to see my success to validate it. I don't need your regret to heal from your rejection. I turned to leave. Sarah, wait. My mother stepped forward. What do we do now? I paused at the door. You start by understanding that I'm not the daughter who failed. I'm the daughter who succeeded despite you. And if you want to be part of my life going forward, you need to love me for who I actually am, not who you wanted me to be. Can we try? She was crying now. Can we start over? I looked at all of them. My brilliant surgeon sister who'd never asked herself if she wanted to be a surgeon. My lawyer sister who followed a script written before she was born. My parents who'd confused control with love. Maybe, I said, but on my terms. No more comparisons, no more dismissals. And you read every article written about me, every interview. You learn who I actually am, not who you assumed I was. My father nodded. We can do that. And one more thing. I pulled out my phone and showed them a picture. This is Maya, my co-founder and my girlfriend. We've been together for 8 months. If you want me in your life, you accept her too. My mother's eyes widened, not in disgust, in surprise, then understanding. You never told us, she said softly. You never asked. You were so busy telling me who to be, you never asked who I was. Jessica spoke up. She's beautiful. When can we meet her? It wasn't everything. It wasn't a fairy tale reconciliation. But it was something. 3 months later, March 2023, I gave a TED Talk titled From Disappointment to Design, Building Dreams Without Permission. It got 4.7 million views in the first week. My whole family came to watch it, sat in the 3rd row, clapped when I finished. Afterwards, at dinner, my father asked me about the technical aspects of AI design. My mother asked about Maya. Jessica admitted she'd been thinking about switching to research. Michelle confessed she'd started painting again, something she'd loved as a child. We weren't healed, but we were talking. My company hit $50 million in revenue by July 2023. We opened offices in New York, London, and Singapore. I hired 150 people, and I made sure our culture celebrated misfits, dreamers, and people who colored outside the lines. Because here's what I learned. Transformation isn't about becoming someone new, it's about becoming more fully yourself. It's about shedding other people's expectations, like a snake sheds its skin. My family called me an outcast. They meant it as an insult. I turned it into my superpower. Today, at 27, I run a company valued at $200 million. I employ people who were told they weren't smart enough, creative enough, traditional enough. I speak at conferences about the power of rejecting the script you were handed and writing your own. And sometimes late at night, I think about that Chinese New Year dinner, the laughter, the dismissal, the way they made me feel small. And I smile. Not because I proved them wrong, though I did, not because I'm successful, though I am, but because I'm free. Free from the need for their approval, free from the weight of their expectations, free to be exactly who I was meant to be. That Forbes magazine still sits on my mother's coffee table. She shows it to everyone who visits. "This is my daughter Sarah," she says now, and there's pride in her voice. It's not enough, but it's a start. Because the truth is, the best revenge isn't becoming their worst nightmare. It's becoming your own best dream. And I did that. With or without them, I did that. And so can you.